Red Bull broke the 2021 cost cap rules. Well. There's been quite a bit of chaos over the last week or so in Formula 1, hasn't there? Lots of heated back and forth between Red Bull and Mercedes over the 2021 cost cap. And yet another reason for F1 Twitter to completely implode. Let's bring you up to speed first and then dive into what's kicked off today. The budget cap was first introduced last season, with a base limit of $145 million put on teams up and down the grid. Although there were some exceptions with the F1 sprint events, for example, it's still a cap that has been put on all teams and shouldn't be exceeded. And when I say shouldn't be exceeded, the potential penalties laid out by the FIA were pretty extreme. For a minor breach, which is less than 5% overspend but still up to $7 million, deduction of drivers and constructors championship points, suspension from one or more stages of a competition, limitations on ability to conduct aerodynamic or other testing, and reduction of the cost cap, to name a few. For a major breach, which is over 5%, there's the ones I've just mentioned, and also include suspension from an entire competition and exclusion from the championship. Now, these are the headline potential penalties for you. And the reason the FIA outlined them as potential is because they didn't want teams weighing up whether exceeding the cost cap by under 5% would be worth it in terms of performance gain. You just know teams would risk it for the chocolate biscuit if they thought it was worth it. So it is a pretty big deal. And then out of nowhere, despite teams' budget documents being entirely confidential, rumours started flying around about Red Bull and Aston Martin being the two that had broken these cost cap regulations for last year. Toto Wolff started kicking off about how much of an advantage Red Bull would have had. Christian Horner was questioning how they managed to get their hands on such private details, and so on. Netflix have been licking their lips at this for the next season of Drive to Survive. Anyway, let's get on to the big news, what the cost cap has revealed, and what this means for Formula 1 moving forward. Anyway, this has now been confirmed by the FIA today. They have said Aston Martin Aramco Cognizant Formula 1 team is considered to be in procedural breach of the financial regulations. Oracle Red Bull Racing is considered to be in procedural and minor overspend breaches of the financial regulations. And also Williams Racing complied with the financial regulations with an exception of a previous procedural breach, whatever that means. So what happens next? The Cost Cap Administration has several options when dealing with an alleged breach of the financial regulations. It can enter, when deemed appropriate, into a settlement referred to as an Accepted Breach Agreement, ABA, with the competitor concerned in case of procedural breach or minor overspend breach, which is both what Aston Martin and Red Bull have. Or, if no agreement can be reached or the Cost Cap Administration considers it more appropriate, it can refer the case to the Cost Cap Adjudication Panel. I suppose they then decide whether or not it was accidental or fraudulent or whatever. Seems a bit weird though, how do you really tell whether it was on purpose or not? Essentially what that says to me is a penalty isn't guaranteed and they can enter into this mysterious accepted breach agreement. No exact penalty has been decided upon as of yet, so we'll have to wait for that to come out in due course. There you have it, Red Bull, Aston Martin and Williams have been a bit naughty with last year's cost cap regulations. What do you think the appropriate penalty should be? Let us know in the comment section below.